Welcome to another YouTube and LinkedIn Live. This, as always, is an ask us or ask me anything session where you can ask me anything with regards to your master's degree plans, and I'd be able to answer your questions to the best of my ability. Of course, we've been seeing because we do, WhatsApp groups and have access to the general applicant community as a whole. A lot of repeated questions about AI and SOPs and some sort of obsession with transcript evaluations like the WES, even though they're not required for a lot of cases, and a bunch of other application logistics related stuff. So if you have any questions along those lines and anything about universities, the job market, anything technical, please feel free to put down your questions in either the chat box in LinkedIn or in the comment section on YouTube, and I'll have access to those and I will answer your questions. And I think people know the drill already because within a few seconds of starting, the questions that have popped up. So I guess I'll get right to it. All right, we have Saket starting us off. A GPA of a 3.8514. One paper published. I'm not sure which journal. Looking for fall 25 MSCS. Again, if you've converted your GPA yourself, please tell me your 10 scale GPA too. Looking for fall 25 MSCS or MCS with AI specialization. Many recommendations. If you have a 3.85, that's going to be in the late 8s. I'm assuming the GPA on a scale of 10. Pretty good profile just on the face of it. Of course, I don't know in which line your projects are, which undergraduate institution you're from is not clear as well. So all of those factors do make a difference. If you're looking at MCS, most certainly the likes of an NCSU, Stony Brook, UMass, because the GPA is very good, maybe even a USC, but again, I'm not sure how you did that conversion. But a top 20, top 30 CS program is something that you can certainly look for with the right application materials. That's something that I want to stress on. This is all assuming your SOPs are good and your recommendation letters complement the SOPs and you do the process right? Just saying I have an SOP done and assuming in your mind that it's great is not enough, but assuming it's a truly good statement of purpose, a top 20, top 30 should work out for you. And I've mentioned some names as well. All right, moving on swiftly, and we have almost 40 eyes on this live. I feel like it's going to be a fairly high turnout, so let's hope for that. Get your questions in quickly because judging by the number of people, there's no way I'm going to be able to answer all the questions. And don't spam, right? If you ask your question once, please leave it. I'll try my best to get to it. If you put it 3-4 times, I will not answer the question on purpose. So let's be considerate to everybody on here. As a third year undergrad CSE with 7.5 GPA, will have a chance to get into top universities in the US for data science or CS programs. Here's the little bit of a difference, Aditya. Data science programs by and large are not as GPA centric as CS programs are. Data science programs, even though the GPA is a very important factor, you can kind of sort of compensate for that through research experience, either research papers that are published or research internships that you've done under professors at your own university or any other external university overall, right? So with data science, decent programs, you can still make it. CS, the competition is very, very high, but if the rest of your profile is good enough, you can still hope to push for a top 50-ish sort of school. But that's where you lie. If you want to maximize your chances and your GPA is going to remain that much for a CS program, maybe getting a couple of years of work experience to elevate the profile may not be the worst idea. But data science, the focus is far more on your research papers and your research background. CS will care more about your GPA. Of course, if you have research paper for a thesis track masters, that's going to help. But even if you go for a non-thesis CS, then your internships and projects matter more. But in general, CS programs, by and large, because of the competition, will be more DS centric, research centric rather. All right. I have rephrased some of the sentences in my SOP. Will it be considered as AI generated SOP by outcomes? If you used AI to do anything, I would be worried, right? Even if it takes longer, don't use AI to compress anything. Don't use AI to shorten anything. Don't use AI to rephrase anything. Don't use AI for any suggestions to improve the content. The incremental benefit is minimal. And if you want to save time, then that's the worst area and place to save time, considering this is the rest of your life and you're going to be spending 60-70 lakhs on your master's degree, and you're going to be spending in terms of application fee, thousands, right? Each application, if you report scores and all, will be easily between 6 and 10,000 rupees at the worst case. So why do you want to mess with that? Make a little bit of an effort or get somebody to help you to do it properly like a human being, right? Even if you're using AI to rephrase, to compress, to do whatever, and it's detected, it's going to be a huge problem. Please don't do that. All right. What should be the priority? Giving the GRE or completing all applications by 20th November? I don't know. I don't know your specific use case. And this is something which is nuanced, right? I think people just look at one YouTube video, and we are guilty of that. I'm sure a lot of you are looking at our content, joined our WhatsApp groups, have signed up with us paying by looking at our YouTube content, which is useful, yes, but for you there has to be tailored advice, right? Now, not every university for every program gives you an advantage of applying significantly early, right? So if there are maybe 2 or 3 universities in your list where applying early gives you a significant advantage, apply there quickly. Who knows that? We know that, right? It's simply because we've seen when these admissions have been released for the last 7 years at this point in time. So we know, okay, here the incremental benefit of delaying the application by taking the GRE is minimal because they've not been caring for the GRE over the last 3 or 4 years where it's been optional. Certain others, maybe to give you a competitive edge, having a GRE score on file where it's optional might make sense for you to give the GRE by the 20th of November. But if you have to ask yourself honestly, are you at a stage where you believe you can get a 310 plus or a 315 plus? If yes, only then it's worth having that conversation. Because if you score below a 310, then there is no use of going through that entire exercise, right? So it's very nuanced. Now, even though we say apply by November, mid-November, 100% it is useful because we ourselves are seeing with students, people who applied early, who started early, even test optional, right? They're sitting on admits from Indiana Kelly MIS, Maryland College Park MIS, UIUC Technology Management, which is the engineering management program, has been rolling out admits, right? They're sitting on admits with scholarships of $5,000 or $10,000, and now they can think about applying to only the better places, maybe 3 or 4 better ones, right? For the later deadlines, they're saving on like 3 or 4 safeties or moderates which they would have applied to otherwise, right? So in general, yes, applying early is always a good idea. Starting early, there is no substitute for it. But at this point in time, if you want to just go blindly and say, no, I want to finish everything by the 20th and not give the GRE based on an ad hoc suggestion, that is not fair. It's very, very nuanced. For your use case, the specific universities and programs that you're applying to, you have to figure out on a university by university basis based on when they roll out admits, right? Just that little tweak, right? Applying 15 days earlier versus delaying some other applications for two weeks later with the GRE can make a massive difference. Don't be lazy about it. Or I'm sorry, lazy is not the word, but don't be misinformed about it, right? So on this live, I cannot tell you for your specific use case what you should do, because if I give you generic advice saying that no, by 20th just submit everything, then you may be doing a disservice for a university where you wouldn't have got any competitive advantage by applying early, instead of maybe trying to get a GRE score and applying in January instead, right? So from program to program it varies. I hope you understand that, right? So big difference. That strategy is a huge part of it, and only people who've done it for years at that level for these universities will understand that, right? So that's something we can certainly help you out with. All right, VIT Vellore 8.2 GPA. Can I aim for UIUC, TAMU, UCI for MS and CS? TAMU, no. UIUC, probably not. TAMU is a very GPA-centric university for CS. Highly, highly competitive. And in fact, even people have profiles good enough to get into the likes of a Penn or a Columbia or a Cornell for a CS. Prefer TAMU because it's so much cheaper for very similar starting salaries, right? So TAMU, probably not. UIUC is also going to be a little bit of a stretch, but I wouldn't be surprised if you made it. Certain people with that GPA have made it in the past. UCI, which is UC Irvine, I'm guessing, is not at the same level as these two. So you've got your sort of tiering of universities absolutely wrong, right? Irvine's a good school, but not at the level of a UIUC or TAMU for CS. Just a little bit of heads up, these sort of questions I'm going to skip because I have no context, right? What are safe schools for MS and EC? UT Arlington is safe for any profile. But if your profile is good, you probably shouldn't even be applying. You shouldn't even be applying there, right? Maybe some other school is safe for you. So these generic questions I'm going to skip. So don't because it's a critical time of the year. I want to answer questions that make a difference for the larger crowd, right? So please don't ask like this. All right, thoughts on MEM of Tufts compared to other traditional MEM? MEM at Tufts is also traditional MEM. Who said it's adventurous or non-traditional or wild or anything of that sort? It's a normal MEM program that's very, very good. I think it's going to be a small class, so it's going to be highly selective. The co-op is a game changer. I think MEM at Tufts, I cannot very, very strongly put my weight behind it or give my opinion behind it because I've not seen a graduating class. I only see signs that are a very good prospect for the next graduating classes because I'm speaking to students who are in the program. Of course, we have a good working relationship with the admissions committee at Tufts as well, and they're wonderful people, and their vision for the program is fantastic. But of course, my verdict is always going to be based on the students that are there, and they're telling me the most wonderful things in terms of the career support they are receiving and the scope they see for their careers. So it seems absolutely fantastic potentially. It should be a very good bet should you make it overall. All right. Can you please help me with Northeastern Kauri for DS or University of Colorado at Boulder? This is, you know what, this is a very surprisingly tough choice, because if you look at university to university, right, the University of Colorado at Boulder is without doubt a better university for most programs and in terms of reputation than Northeastern. But the Kauri College at Northeastern and data science specifically are very, very well reputed overall, right? So it really depends on where your priorities rise. NEU is a slightly better location, but Boulder is not bad in itself, right? It's a terrific place. NEU living and tuition is going to be expensive. Colorado Boulder usually works out to be a little bit more, reasonably priced, right? Boulder as a brand is a better school overall than Northeastern. So it depends on what you value more. This is a very, very tough choice or a close choice. I personally prefer the slightly underrated schools, which are, because they've been delivering results year after year after year. And my personal pick would be Boulder, but it's very tight. You can go either ways. There's no wrong decision there. Both are terrific. All right. Currently studying at Texas Tech, pursuing MS and CS. Should I go for DSA and Dev for jobs, or data science and AI for entry level? Depends on your interest. I would not know that. Scholarships for universities will be information available on the website. In your applications, when you're ticking a box, do you want to be considered for scholarships? Just tick yes. And by and large, they will give you the offer based on the strength of your application. That's the case, people. That's how 80% of the students getting scholarships get scholarships. Otherwise, there'll be a scholarship essay that you have to write, right? They will be apparent only in the application. Unfortunately, US universities do not very transparently and very clearly put the list of scholarships that are available for them. You'll find them only once you open the application. All right. All right. My course is B. Mumbai University. It doesn't offer B Tech. So while filling the application, what should I write? Computer engineering or computer science? I mean, whatever it was it a BE in computer engineering? I mean, computer engineering is very different in India, by the way, than computer science. So did you do CSE, BTech, or did you do computer engineering? Just put what you did, right? So I mean, I don't get what this question is. While filling the applications, what should I write? Computer engineering or computer science engineering or computer science? Don't put computer engineering, whether it's computer science engineering or computer science, it's the same thing. Don't worry. If you did CSE, right? Is considering NEU only for co-ops a good idea? Co-ops are very, very good, my friend. Depends. If you get into a much better university, you cannot ignore the long-term brand value and the brand effect that you're going to have, which is going to be incredibly useful for you. NEU co-op is good. Should that be the primary criteria? Maybe not, but it depends on what you're evaluating it against. All right. What do you think about Arizona State for a master's in electrical engineering admitted for spring 2025? ASU is always going to be a decent school. It's a pretty safe bet. Large class, a lot of competitions for on-campus jobs, lot of competition for the jobs itself, because a large number of candidates are going to be, exact same replicas, right? Indian engineers looking for very, very similar roles. The university itself is good. I mean, it's not elite, but it does the job in terms of getting you a career boost overall, right? So you can look at it. All right. How to approach professors for funding via email? What should be included in the email before getting an admit? What are you applying for? I mean, professors don't give you funding. It's the university that gives you funding. So if you ask a professor, they're probably not going to reply. And even if they do, they'll say, it's not in my hands. It's the university that has the budget allocated to it that offer these scholarships. Professors are not making those decisions. If you're applying for PhDs, that's a different story. They will take you into their research groups, and PhDs in the US are by and large fully funded in any case. So that would not be funding technically that they're giving. They already have a budget. If you are in line with their research and they feel that you can add value, that works for a PhD. But for a master's, that does not add much value. Going for MS and DS in Syracuse for spring 2025, how to connect with fellow batchmates, preferably Indians, text them on LinkedIn. We don't have, I mean, we do have folks there, but vast majority of our students are usually at the bigger, better DS programs largely. So I would have loved to add you into, some group or connect you with a few people. But DS at Syracuse, even though it's a good program, we Gradvine students, not too many, but LinkedIn is your best bet. I published a paper in Europe's workshop during my MTech in AI and data science at the IIT Madras, Zanzibar. Okay. Will it be recognized in PhD admissions and future MBA applications also? PhD, sure. For MBA, honestly, your research background doesn't matter as much. All right. How much effect do backlogs have on admissions for MS and CS? Here's a little bit of a convenient answer for backlogs, right? But of course, it depends on so many different factors. If your GPA is still decent and you're under about 3 backlogs, you should be okay. It won't be a huge deal. I've seen people make it to very good universities. But if your GPA is lower and then you have 3 or 4, it becomes a little bit of a problem. Of course, if your GPA is much lower and then you have multiple backlogs, it's going to be a huge problem, right? So subjective question. That's why I gave you a subjective answer. Depends on the number, your GPA, and but at the end of the day, does it make a difference? Yes, backlogs and your GPA are very, very, very important. Currently doing undergrad in computer science, and for masters doing MEM. Is it better doing CS specialization? Please suggest. This is a misconception, right? Like a lot of people, CS is great. CS is evergreen, right? Always going to have job demand. No other degree is going to be as good as it, right? Not just forget about MEM. You talk about electrical engineering, computer engineering, mechanical engineering, whatever core. CS is going to be the highest because software runs the world, and the largest number of ML engineers, DevOps engineers, software engineers are in the US because there's that sort of demand. So there's no doubt in terms of job opportunities, CS is great. But does that mean that CS is going to guarantee you a great job? Absolutely not. If you're not good at it and you don't enjoy it, never do CS, right? Because first of all, you'll struggle in the course because they're largely assignment based. There is not going to be any spoon feeding. It's all independent learning. And those assignments are challenging. In fact, the exams are challenging enough that they say it's an open book exam, right? So you have to understand the concept very well, and you in your heart by now, after studying 2 years of engineering, or at least 3 years hopefully, will know whether you like CS and you want to do it or no, right? So be honest to yourself. If you don't like it, don't do it. You'll struggle to finish the course. You will struggle to get a job after it, right? Because you have to crack so many technical interviews that if you're not good at it and you don't enjoy it, you'll be caught out like that, right? Is the MEM going to give you a broader range of job opportunities? No. But if you go to a top tier program, will you get a job that is good? 100% in recent years, right? If you go to a nonsense university, no. The fundamental differences for CS, typically, if you go to any top 50 university, you will likely get a job, right? MEM, you have to go to maybe a set of 15, 16 universities, and that has been changing year after year, depending on the placement stats from every year, where that is where the maximum job opportunities are. You cannot go to the 50 MEM programs and then expect the same opportunities as CS from badly reputed universities, right? So that's the fundamental difference. Do what you are interested in. That's the only way you can secure a job in the US. Cracking the interviews through a half-baked effort is not like sitting through campus placements here. Your interest and your capability has to shine through. So the MEM is great. Let me give you a converse example, because you'll be listening to a lot of relatives who are ill-informed, unfortunately. They're living 20 years ago. And you'll also listen to people who are sitting in India who have this mentality of stick to your core, stick to your core. That's why half this country is engineers without being good at it or liking it, right? That core concept doesn't exist as much in the US, right? Let me give you an example. If you look at the MEMs, for example, if you look at something like a Dartmouth or a Johns Hopkins, or for that matter, Purdue, even in the worst job market when candidates have graduated, which was, April, May, maybe some classes are graduating, June, July as well overall. In terms of placements, these places had between 98 to 100%. So maybe one odd candidate in the class but 100% placements, Dartmouth's median salary was $128,000 a year. Johns Hopkins, Purdue were hovering around that 110 largely, right? So fantastic starting salaries, and pretty much everybody in this job market got a job for MEM. Now, if you look at CS for USC, when Suraj was visiting campus, right? This was in the month of May, again peak graduation time. It's a class of 900 people. Half the class did not have jobs because the job market was bad. In that same period of time, or a very similar period of time, the folks from these top MEM programs all had internships and jobs. So does that make MEM better than CS? Absolutely not. So it is subjective. You cannot go with this narrow mindset saying that okay, CS mein to jobs rahenge, baki mein to nahi hai. Doing management is a bad thing. What are you good at? What are you interested in? Where does your conviction lie? At a master's level, you can't be childish and rather blind with that, right? So you figure out. I'm not supposed to give you that answer, right? All right, I'm planning to do MS and CS in the USA. What do you think about Indiana, Bloomington, and IIT Chicago? My GPA is 8 on 10, one research paper, two academic projects. Do you suggest any universities? Your criterion and your table are like this. Again, you don't understand the tiers of universities. Indiana and Bloomington and IIT Chicago are, between, like upper niche. They're not even in the same level, right? So where did you come up with that criteria to pick these two names overall? IUB is great, but honestly, for computer science, there are better alternatives in terms of location overall. And IIT Chicago, while it is a safety in a good place, I think you can make it to better schools overall with an 8 GPA. Again, I don't know anything else in your profile, but since the GPA is the most important factor, you certainly should be targeting better schools overall. All right. VIT Vellore CSC, 8.5 GPA, 5 months internship experience in product management, working on a research paper, looking for MEM next fall. Which universities might I aim for? We've had similar profiles with good materials. Again, I'm keeping this, right? Good materials are very, very important for CS, of course, for MEM even more so because of the number of essays that you're going to write. If your materials are crap, you would have seen the admissions committee at Johns Hopkins. Trevor was speaking about it. You would have heard the admissions committee. Hopefully, if you attended the webinar, which Eric Vanderwood was on that, and he said it. They care a lot about your statement of purpose and what you're saying in it, whether it makes sense, whether it's technically correct, and it reflects who you are truly. With the right materials, we've had people make it to Duke, Cornell, Dartmouth, Hopkins, right? So pretty much every top program, the best in the world, barring Stanford. With the right materials, you could get in there. But even within these, the curriculums are very different. The durations are very different. Some have co-op, some have don't. Some are operations heavy, some are circuit branch heavy. Some have large classes, some have small classes. Some are more favorable for people with less experience. Some are more favorable for people with more experience, right? So what kind of university should you aim for? The very best ones, because we've seen hundreds of cases where similar profiles, by and large, in terms of the hard metrics, have made it with the right materials. So I hope that answers your question. That doesn't mean that you just finish some SOP and apply to Cornell, right? You have to think about it in a more nuanced manner. So if you want a more personalized consultation, how you should go about it and start with the process, now is the time. We are in the 3rd of November already. I think for UIUC MSTM, about 50-60 people would have applied, and half of them are going to get admits, more than half. So these classes are filling up. Johns Hopkins will start reviewing applications by the 2nd or 3rd week of November. So you have to get your application materials ready, and they have to be good in time. This is what I was answering for an earlier candidate. Should I finish everything by 20th? No, but you certainly have to finish some critical places by a certain date to increase your chances of getting in greatly. So act now, schedule your free consultation call, show up for the free consultation call, and post that if you wish to go ahead with some professional help, which will make a massive difference. 100% look at it, right? So now the act time is, ripe for you to act. Alrighty, for all of you, there's a wait list or a queue of, I'm suspecting I've not even answered 1/4 of the number of questions coming in. I have a hard stop for this session in about 25 or 30 minutes. So no doubt about it, I'm not going to be not going to be able to answer, rather, even if I talk nonstop, all your questions. So if I'm not able to, again, you'll see that it's not for a lack of effort. I'm trying to give very detailed answers because that is useful instead of me just giving something generic. go ahead to www.gradvine.com or use the link that my colleague will be pasting in the comment section on YouTube or LinkedIn or whatever, and schedule your free consultation call. If you feel that scheduling the free consultation call is too much of an effort, you don't want to click or whatever, you can call during reasonable office hours, which is usually between 10 and 8 p.m. on 9000 right? 9000 If you find that more convenient, text or call on that number for your free consultation. Otherwise, the easiest way is to schedule a free consultation on www.gradvine.com or using the Calendly link that my colleague will be putting in the comment box. Irrespective, now is the time to start. Every single day is crucial, and every bit of competitive advantage and right strategy can make a massive difference to your application process. All right, let me move on to your questions after that. All righty. 8.5 GPA from BITS Pilani, computer science, intern and 2 years work ex at JP Morgan. Chances of getting into top MFin at MIT Berkeley. I think you'll have a fairly good shot. But it also is going to depend a lot on your GRE or GMAT quant score. While a lot of these programs have made the score optional, if you're looking at the financial engineering, financial mathematics, computational finance, quantitative finance, which are all just the same names for a master's in financial engineering overall, or even for that matter, if you're looking at the pure finance programs, right? Like you mentioned, Berkeley, MIT, UT Austin, perhaps you're looking at USC. Yeah, you are most certainly, you would want to look at Baruch College, the City University of New York, which is probably the best in terms of career outcomes for an MS in finance. What I'm coming to get you is, in terms of your work ex and your profile, bang on. You absolutely can hope to get into some of these places, but they care a lot about their median GRE quantitative scores or the GMAT quantitative scores. So you need to be on point and likely have to take that test for you to stand the best chance of making into finance programs, because they do care about your quantitative aptitude. But just on the face of it, 100% you should aim for it, and with the right material you can make it to these places, right? We've had multiple folks make it to the likes of a UCLA, UCSD, UC Berkeley, even Baruch for their finance and their financial engineering programs. Last year we had a candidate made to Princeton as well, right? Which is obviously a terrific program overall. So yeah, you can reach out to us and we'll be happy to help you. All righty. I'm an EC undergraduate, 8.6 GPA, working as a software engineer for 4 years. I don't have all 4 prerequisites in my transcript. Can I apply for MSCS, MCS, or software? My genuine advice, don't go down the slippery slope and be stubborn and apply to an MS in CS or an MCS, because the 4 prerequisites are critical. You might find that one odd case from somewhere has made it. In fact, we've done a video with a person, if you just scroll back to Gradvine's videos 2 years ago, with a gentleman called Mayank Vanani, who came from an instrumentation and controls undergrad department, had 3 out of the 4 prerequisites, did not have one, but made it to Georgia Tech for MS and CS. So I'm the first person to come and say that there will be exceptions and anomalies like this, but that is one out of maybe 50 candidates overall maximum. Maybe I'm not aware of everybody in the world. Out of 100 candidates, maybe 7, 8, 9, max 10 will make it without the prerequisites. Don't play against the odds and go for an MS and CS and lose out on time. With 4 years of work experience, in any case, for you, doing a master's in software engineering or a master's in information systems will take you to a top 10 program for sure, probably a top 5 program as well. And it will take you into very similar, if not better, job roles if you go to the right universities. So get out of that confusion, start acting now, and apply to the good programs at this point in time as soon as possible for MIS or software engineering. Don't sit with the doubt anymore. You're not going to go anywhere with that. Still going with that 10% chance and taking a risk for MS and CS, maybe it will work out. But overall, if you weigh the odds, it would be a silly decision, in my opinion. Sorry if I'm being a little bit more blunt on this live, because I think in November, we have to be blunt with the advice, right? You will appreciate it overall later when it makes a difference to you. Apply for MIS, apply for software engineering. The deadlines are closed. University of Washington, priority deadline for the Masters in Information Systems Management, which is a program with outstanding starting salaries. Amazon and Microsoft recruit product managers from there day in, day out. The priority deadline is the 13th of November, right? So there are a bunch of deadlines approaching. Apply for software engineering MIS programs with the right shortlist. with the right material. Again, saying my SOP is done, my LORs are done, it can be done in 3 hours also, right? You can write down an SOP in 30 minutes. Is it good is the question. With the right materials, you can get into some really good programs, and that is the ideal path that you can look at, right? Once again, I'm not going to answer these sort of questions, no context. So I don't know what kind of university can I get is very subjective, right? All right, what are my chances of my application being shortlisted for the Purdue MEM? I have a GPA of a 7.3 with a backlog history, 3 years of experience as a data engineer. Challenging, difficult. Again, I'm when I say this, I also will give you a positive angle to it, right? So I had a very similar student who he was from, I believe, NMIMS. Or one of those in Mumbai, right? Engineering, very stringent GPA pattern, had a couple of backlogs, I think about two, and the GPA was on a scale of 4 because at that point NMIMS was very weird for some reason. Had a GPA of a 2.8 on 4. They gave it on a 4 scale, and it was very very unfortunate. But went on to score a 330 on the GRE and had some solid internships. He made it, right? That is again one. Right, again, I'm not saying I know every student who's gotten into Purdue every year, even though we fill out half the class for the MEM program every year. Based on the larger chunk of applicants that are getting in, the chances are limited, to be honest. All right, with the number of questions coming in, they're skipping, right? It's difficult to reach back. I chose, I do not waive my right to access the report for my LOR. Will this be an issue? No, not a problem. Usually waiving your right says it indicates to the university. And because look, I see a lot of discussions on WhatsApp groups where people are giving the random opinions, right? So I always like to get the logic behind it for all of you, greater, for your larger benefit. When you say that I waive my right to access this report, you're saying that I'm confident enough that I don't want to see what my recommender has submitted, right? I don't want to see the LOR later on that he or she has submitted. I'm confident enough that the recommendation will be solid. I don't need to check it at a later date. I don't care. I given the recommendation letter report, let them submit it. So even if you say you do not waive your right, you're saying that at some point in time I would like to request, the LOR and see it. It doesn't make a difference in terms of the admission decision. It is ideal to waive your right, but it's no big deal if you say that I do not waive my right. It's not going to make any difference in your admit. The only reason why they have that option is because there are a lot of legal implications for every single thing to be done in the US, right? So when you tick that option, it is your consent saying that okay, later on I will not request for it, so that you won't create an issue later on in case the university doesn't give you access to it, right? So it's a compliance thing. So don't worry about it. Don't break your head for these sort of things. One more other thing that I tell people, why writing emails to university, they come and ask me, is WES required? I have WES, should I submit it even though they don't need it? Am I eligible with a 3-year diploma plus a 3-year degree? Am I eligible with a 3-year degree and nothing else? Even though we've seen candidates in the past being eligible, we still recommend you to write emails and get replies in writing, because once you get it in writing, right, they will never give you that specific reason for a rejection in your application, or say that this is not complying overall. So once you have it in writing, that is their word for it. And once they don't send things in writing easily, it will make you sleep a little better. That's the reason writing emails and communicating with admissions committees is something that we recommend for all these sort of doubts, not for the silly ones, but compliance related stuff. All right, going to answer a broad-based question. Again, I'm not doing questions about university shortlist because I've explained time and again. It's not something where I can look at 3 lines for you in a message and say apply to 5 places. It's far more nuanced than that. And even if you're doing shortlist based on that sort of advice, even though more than likely my advice might be fairly accurate because of the years of experience, and we work with thousands of candidates at this point, right? On an average between 700 to 800 paying customers a year. So if I give you an ad hoc recommendation, probably valuable, but I don't want to do that because it's not doing justice to what you can get in the future, right? So if you say I have, this is my profile, this is my GPA, I have 2 research papers, I have 3 internships, I don't know the quality of I don't know the quality of the internship, I don't know anything else about your profile to give you a qualified university list. So that is something I cannot do on these lives or even on the WhatsApp groups. That's the reason why I ignore those messages. Simple answer to this: does MIS require GRE? Lot of programs have waived it off. So for MIS, MEM, you have quite a few decent schools where it is optional. But the big ones, the major ones, do make it very difficult for you to get a waiver, like UWash and CMU specifically. All right. Is IIT Chicago and Stevens bad? Not great. I mean, they're not terrible. I mean, people go there and still get jobs, but they're like pretty much at the bottom level of the lowest level of universities that you can consider going to do a master's, right? Especially in how the job market is going to evolve and how the H1B process will likely evolve in the years to come, right? As developments are coming in. And this has nothing to do with the Trump government or coming in or the Biden government. It's generally how the US immigration policies for workers has evolved, where they're weeding out duplicate applications and they're moving towards a more merit-based system. That has happened about a year ago, very much within the Biden administration itself. So this is, you have to go to the better universities because these nonsense consultancy jobs won't be available, right? So IIT Chicago, Stevens are not bad, but they're absolutely at the bottom level of universities that you would consider, in my opinion, right? All right, which program is easy to get into? Data science or MIS? I have 5 years of work X from an ECE background, 7.9 GPA. All right, let me answer in terms of the easier. If you do not have research papers, trying to get into data science becomes a little difficult, very difficult rather, because they're very, very research heavy programs. So your research papers, your research internships have to be on point. If you have 5 years of corporate work experience, just apply for an MIS, right? Very, very similar job opportunities. In fact, the kinds of recruiters who come to MIS programs do like people with WorkX. So your starting salaries also potentially could be better. So for your case, I would not do data science. I would apply to MIS and enjoy a great career, as you go along. All right. Does co-op affect your OPT duration post-graduation? Nope. Co-ops have nothing to do with OPTs. You do co-ops on a CPT. CPT and OPT are different. You use CPT for internships and co-ops, OPT for a full-time job. All right, 8.8 GPA, Duolingo, wanted to go for MIS or MEM, suggest some universities. Again, all I can tell you is with the right material, with the right requirements, people have made it to the very best universities with this sort of a GPA, right? Even without a GRE score. Dartmouth, Duke, Cornell, Hopkins, Purdue, you name it, we've had hundreds with this sort of a GPA make it. In fact, several with much lower GPAs also make it. But do you even want to apply to these places? Is something that you'll have to figure out in terms of budget. Now, if you come and tell me that you have a budget constraint, you shouldn't even be applying to Johns Hopkins, right? Because the tuition fee itself is upwards of $85,000. So what's the point, right? Do you even consider it? Depends, right? If you're okay with it. If you care that, okay, I'm willing to put down the amount provided my later investment return on investment is great, then 100% apply. So this is one example. Every university requires a deep discussion. What kind of universities can you make it? Through us, with the right materials. Again, emphasizing on that always. They've made it to any top program you wish, barring Stanford, which has a 9 plus GPA sort of obsession overall. All right, I'm an electronics and electrical engineering graduate from CBIT 2023 pass out. GPA is 9.13. I'm having a year of work experience with ITC. What are my chances of getting to Purdue with an MEM? Pretty good with the right materials again. I think GPA is something they take very seriously. ITC is a very reputed company that you're working for. If you have a year of work experience now, you might have close to 2 years by the time you start your master's. So that is a little bit of a sweet spot as well. You won't be considered a fresher anymore. You'll be considered someone with work X. With these criterion, I think you will even be able to go GRE optional, because Purdue has very strict criteria in terms of who they will consider seriously without a GRE score, and you might fit that requirement. So with the right material, Purdue, good chance. Get started with us. Don't leave anything to chance, because last year Purdue, we filled out half the class pretty much, right? It's a class of 60 something people. Usually we had upwards of 23, 24 people make it to the program overall, right? But not half, but very close to it pretty much. Is it better to apply for MIS or MS in computer engineering rather than MS in CS with 3+ years of work experience? Will unis give more priority to the admission for MIS having experience? In general, Hari Krishna, MIS programs do prefer people with work experience, and they give a lot more emphasis to people with work experience. So without doubt, you will make it into better MIS programs, which will lead to better career opportunities. But MIS, if you've done again, if you, I don't know what you've done your undergrad, and if you've not done it in CS, then an MS in CS itself is moot. But if you've done your undergrad in CS, then MIS will still have database management systems, Java and stuff like that, which you would have finished and at a basic level. So you would have already finished that in your undergrad. You might feel that this tech part is a little repetitive, right? But apart from that, if you want to get into product roles, SDE roles, project management roles, then MIS is still great for you, unless you want to go into core MLAI, heavily technical roles. So it depends on where your priorities lie. But if you say which will give me a better job with a better salary, then probably MIS at a top better university is something that I would prefer. I have a GRE of a 325, aiming for MSc in Stanford and MEM at Dartmouth. I have a 9+ GPA, 2 conference papers, 2 years of work ex. How can I make my chances better? Honestly, with that sort of a profile, you've already done everything to make your chances better. The favor you can do is applying with the right materials. Again, can't emphasize more on that. By the priority deadlines. Dartmouth starts reviewing applications from December 1st. Though the deadline is January 15th. I've seen the same profile, exact same dot to dot. Apply December 1st, get an interview call. Same person applied about 30 days later, got a reject, right? Without even an interview, right? MSND also, the Stanford deadline with a scholarship, I believe, is December 1st or 2nd or something of that sort. So the favor you can do yourself, good application materials, apply early for Dartmouth and on time for Stanford, right? Nothing else you should do or can do, honestly, at this point in time. This is a very good question. It will help out the general audience listening in as well. How many words must a good SOP have if they haven't mentioned about the word limit for MS in AI or DS? Thank you. This is usually information that I reserve only for paid customers, because there has to be, of course, there's a lot more value that we add for paid customers, right? There's stuff that you wouldn't have even imagined that happen with the admissions processes that we give you tips on. But in general, because you asked and because it's November, I'm going to help you guys out. If there is no word limit for any SOP, right? Not MS in AI, CS, DS, MIS, whatever. If there is no word limit, you can be anywhere between about 900 to 1300 words. That's the sweet spot. Between 900 to 1300, there is no good or bad. It's not too short or too long. If you're able to tell your entire story with coherent goals, strong projects, the justification clearly in terms of what skills you lack and how you wish to pick it up through the program on a technically grounded, insightful manner, not just writing course names from the website and professor names from the website generically. If you're able to do that in 900 words, great. If you need up to 1300, it's fine. Beyond that, it's a problem, because you also have to be considerate towards the adcoms. People have gotten into top programs at 1500 word SOPs also. There's no hard and fast formula. But the safe limit, largely when you look at maximum number of SOPs that have gotten into the top schools, they lie between that 900 to 1300 word range. If you're around that, you're in a good spot. So keep that in mind for the general audience listening. All right. So for the rest of you, again, like I'm saying, I'm not going to be able to answer a majority of these questions because of the wonderful turnout and so many questions. And I'd like to thank you for not spamming. Much appreciated. Makes my life a lot easier, makes the lives of those listening a lot easier. So thanks for that. For the rest of you, please don't hesitate to schedule that free consultation call on www.gradvine.com. Get your applications. Get your doubts sorted preliminarily. If they've not been answered in this live, my team will answer with patience. If they do not answer your questions, text me on LinkedIn and I will make sure it happens for you, right? But of course, don't call and say review my SOP or give me my entire shortlist, right? That's unreasonable. But if you have essential doubts, the tier of universities you can target, get your profile evaluated, your application strategy, what you should do when, genuine advice, get that on that free consultation call. After that, listen to our services. If you don't want to take them, complete respect, right? We never call, we never hound, we never follow up. And I think that is something I'm publicly acknowledging, that anybody listening to this live, a lot of you would have taken that call already. Nobody hounds you saying that, hey, are you paying today? Are you paying today? Nothing of that sort happens. Get that information. If you don't want to take our services, respectfully say no. Nobody is going to judge you, but schedule that free consultation, get your doubts cleared, and then understand what's important in the process and understand how we can help out. So you get your doubts cleared and you understand how Gradvine can help out in detail as well with your university shortlist, your application materials, your visa process, your financial planning and loan process, everything end to end we cover, right? So you can understand the services, get your doubts cleared, schedule that free consultation on www.gradvine.com, gradvine.com, or call us on 9000 between 10 a.m. and 8 p.m. And you will either, somebody will pick up the call and answer your questions, or they will give you a call back. So do either of these things in your own interest overall at this point in time, right? So get your doubts clear there. I'm going to take my last few questions before wrapping up this live. I'm just going to quickly do this. I already took one free consultation. Can I get some more? Can I get one more for inquiries? Of course you can. There's no restriction on the number of times. The only thing that irritates us, guys, and you have to be respectful of people's time, not just when you're dealing with, that's generally a good habit. But when you're scheduling a call, show up, right? If you schedule a call at a time that's convenient for you, honestly, there's a whole host of slots available. And then somebody calls you and say, I'm busy, call back later. It's extremely disrespectful. So if you do that, then obviously the next call that you book, we will not entertain, right? We either won't show up or we'll cancel it, because there are other things that we can do, right? So book the call, show up for the call. That's all you can do. If you want a second one for follow-up doubts, that's fine. After that call also, if you say, I'm not going to pay you, nobody is going to be angry at you, because that's not the culture we do it. If somebody has done that, again, I'm telling you, text me on LinkedIn and I'll make sure it doesn't happen. But it's fine. You can get a second call, but please show up once you book it, because it's somebody's time and a slot that you're holding up, right? All right, IUB mentions most of the students hold 100 in TOEFL. Is it a strict requirement? Unless they say it's a cutoff, it's not a hard requirement. If you're in and around that range, it's fine. All right, for MSDS, I looked at numerous universities' deadlines from safe to ambitious. All have a deadline on or after January. So it's safe to do my applications around 15 to 20 December, or is it too late? It depends. If it's Texas A&M, they definitely review applications earlier. If it is something, within the UCs, it's okay to apply a little later, because they really don't make much of a difference. But by and large, if you want a one size fits all sort of answer, 15 to 20 December is still okay. I don't think you'll be in a huge spot of bother. No experience, no research papers, planning for GRE this month, GPA 3.4. Should I even bother trying for fall 25 MS and data science, or too optimistic about getting in? Look, for the good universities, my friend, you need research, right? So I wouldn't say don't bother trying, but I think you'll have better chances if you just get those elements in your profile and a decent GRE, because there has to be something enticing in the profile to apply instead of applying in hope, right? So I would say, should you try? Maybe, but the better option would be to build up that profile and apply a little later, right? Honestly, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that no, you can apply, you can get in, we'll try, and then say sorry at the end of the day. It is in your best interest to perhaps wait a little bit and build on that profile at this point in time, specifically for data science, where research is valued greatly. All right, graduated in 2023 May, then to 2024 March, which is almost a year. We prepared for GATE, then went to prepare for GRE. So I think the question that you're trying to ask, if the larger audience can read it, is the gap a problem? Not really. You should be okay. All right, I'm just cherry picking another couple of questions to answer. And of course, the spam has started, which I'm going to ignore all of the spam questions if they're repeating. All right, 8.65 GPA, Duolingo 135, interested in CS and MSIS. Which country should I consider other than US? If you're willing to learn the language, Germany. If language is something that you're not too keen on picking up, then the Netherlands is decent. You can also look at Ireland. All three are decent alternatives to the US, even though US stands head and shoulders above them for the two courses you specifically mentioned. This I'm answering as the last question for the day because I want to ask you to be careful when you're applying for programs, right? Cyber security is something that I don't recommend. I've stated that in writing. I've stated that in public multiple different times. I've gotten a lot of pushback and hate for it also. But look, it doesn't matter to me whether you apply to cyber security, CS, MIS, MEM, DS, whatever, right? We help with all of them. We charge for all of them overall. Cyber security, in fact, is easier for you to get into. But for job opportunities, I do not recommend you go for a cyber security program because a lot of the recruitment, major companies, and for a vast majority of the roles, they require additional security clearances for the candidate and approvals from a variety of different places for you to be hired in these things, right? Even in the private sector. And as a non-US passport holder, it's going to be very difficult for you to obtain the clearances, and therefore companies don't recruit itself, right? You might find the one odd case who's doing decently well for after a cyber security degree overall, but majority of the cases, again 90 out of 100, struggle for jobs, right? So I'd be a little smarter while picking this course at this point in time. And I wouldn't go to Canada at all with the current, forget the political climate, that's a separate thing, but the economy is in doldrums. The cost of living and housing has gone up. There needs to be some serious measures for it to be a viable place for students and people coming in. They're even limiting immigration because they don't know what the heck they're doing at this point in time, right? I would look at Canada. I would not look at Canada. US also not cybersecurity, right? I didn't answer your question directly, but I hope this is food for thought. All right, some good questions. So I'm just extending my time here. I have 5 research papers, all in IEEE. Fantastic. I need to include it in my resume, but the number of pages is exceeding 2. Should I include it and exceed the pages more than 2? If you have an exceptional set of achievements and an exceptional set of projects, and IEEE publications, 5 of them are all good, you can't ignore them. It's okay to extend to 2. But here's a tip that will help you, all of you guys. The worst thing you can do in this situation is end up with a resume that is 1.5 page long, or 1 3/4 of a page, or 1 1/4, 1 page or 2 full pages. If you are doing it 1.5, it is perceived as laziness on your part, very, very unprofessional. 2 full pages, elaborate on some other information and extend it to 2, include everything that is important. Once you go to university, your career services anyway is going to cut down to a page. In fact, the resume format that we give to our paid students and the ones that we edit iteratively, with the team, making sure even the resume is absolutely pinpoint perfect, because that's the first thing that admissions committees are going to look at in your profile before they read the SOP, before they read the recommendation letters. The format, the language, the style that we prescribe is the format prescribed by Ivy League universities and the top universities from their career services. How have I, or how has my team gathered that? Because when I went to Dartmouth, when Suraj, my co-founder, went to Carnegie Mellon, when a bunch of my friends who I'm going to do a YouTube video with, like a 10 years on, how's your career going type thing. If you're excited, drop a thumbs up for that video. If you want to see how people who went for their masters at good universities 10 years ago, what they're doing right now, and how they're recruiting candidates from master's programs right now, say yes or put a thumbs up. We'll record that video sooner. But to give you an answer, all of us who went to these universities were surprised. We went with all different resume formats in our applications, because in 2014-15, who knew, right? There were no tools also. We came out looking with resumes which looked exactly the same. One went to NYU, one went to Dartmouth, one went to Carnegie Mellon, one went to Duke, right? One went to UPenn. They all came back with exactly the same looking resumes in the same order with very, very similar language, which shows that there is a very strongly preferred format in the US, right? Which is a page long. But for the sake of application, stick to that same format which we prescribe, because admissions committees are used to reading information in a certain order. If you use your funky Elon Musk formats with all colors, they're going to get irritated trying to find the information, and that flow is not going to be there, right? So the flow is important, that format is important. That's what we prescribe to all of our paid students. And we edit the content very, very seriously, because every part of the application is so very important. It's okay if it exceeds to 2 pages. It's absolutely fine, right? So for your case, go for 2 pages, but in the right format. Don't go randomly. All righty. I think I'm going to wrap up my live now. I'm sorry. I think there are at least 50 questions that are very, very good that I missed. And I hope this was useful. The plan is to maybe do this live at least once a week. By the way, last time, I don't know if you guys are in our WhatsApp groups, but if you aren't, then please join in, because that's where a lot of good discussions happen. Yesterday, we actually offered something for students who are struggling with their shortlist, because they're seeing so many of these questions and nonsensical universities, honestly, being floating around. That free consultation that can be scheduled for up to 50 candidates, right? We have 50 slots available over the week. And they can get 4 universities from my team for absolutely free on that call. Definitely ones that they should apply to for their program, right? 4 universities for free. We launched that on the WhatsApp group. These are the kinds of things we keep doing on the WhatsApp group, apart from giving a lot of information and answering questions. We offered 50 slots. Within 2 hours, we had 75 bookings come through. So that is gone. I don't know if you're going to do it again, because it's a strain on my team taking 75 calls a week when there's a separate free consultation call mechanism coming in. We might offer more slots fresh a little later, provided my team has the bandwidth. We'll discuss that. But that's, thank you for that response, by the way. Over 70 calls in 2 hours is something even we didn't expect. We thought 50 is a lot of slots. It'll take some time to fill. But yes, we are going to do that. And I don't know if we are going to be doing it again. So join our WhatsApp groups, schedule your free consultations, get help. Simple thing. Yesterday, it was, every year it happens, and this year it's happening early and good, right? So many of our students received MIS admits to the University of Maryland College Park with a $5,000 scholarship. Indiana Kelly between $5,000 to $10,000 of a scholarship, and their investment in us and the advice we gave them, the investment was 50,000 rupees for a $5,000 or a $10,000 scholarship, simply because they applied with the right material, with the right strategy at the right time. So that is what you're going to get in terms of your return on investment. And I'm not even talking about the fantastic programs that Indiana Kelly, MIS, and Maryland College Park are. The guys who've gotten in, their career is set for the rest of their lives. They're going to reap dividends for the rest of their career overall, right? But even if you say, okay, I cannot have that much foresight, it's $5,000 or $10,000 saved straight away for a 50,000 rupee investment, and you made it to top tier programs, right? So that is what your investment is getting you. Invest in the right places, please. I've seen a couple of students, and I feel bad for them largely, right? Drop out because some other company said they're giving a 20,000 Diwali discount, or a 25,000 some other discount. They'll give you, if you negotiate more, they'll give you a $35,000 discount as well. But is this the place where you win with a discount? Right? It's the rest of your career. Get a discount somewhere else on your clothes or your shoes or your flight tickets, right? Not something that you should do for the rest of your life, your future, and your applications. The people who started early and applied with the right strategy, their investment has already paid dividends within 2 months, right? So get advice from people who know their stuff. I'm sure after you've attended our lives, you've attended our free consultation calls, you are convinced at this point in time that nobody gives you better information, right? If you aren't, fine. If somebody gave you better information, uh, for sure go for them, right? If you're convinced. But when you know somebody knows their stuff better, they have a better track record, they have better information. If you're going for a 5,000 rupee, 10,000 rupee, or even a 20,000 rupee discount, right? Stupid decision. That's all I can say, right? This is not where you save money. This is where you invest for the best outcomes overall. So please do jump in, schedule your free consultations. Aryan asked me, when is your next live going to be? I'll be the first one to join. Aryan, hopefully in a week time, but you don't have to wait for the live. You can schedule a personalized one-on-one free consultation on www.gradvine.com, or call us on 9000081081, though the schedule call is a little easier. So I hope this live was useful. I was a little blunt. Sorry if I was rude at a little point in time, but it is for your own benefit at the end of the day. You have to prioritize the right things and do things right. So I hope this was useful. And hopefully you'll be seeing me or Suraj within the next week. If not, I'd love to see you guys on the free consultation calls. Have a great week ahead. I am going to catch up on some sleep now.